Growing backlash against Governor Ron DeSantis and the Florida Board of Education over the state's new standards for teaching the history of U.S. slavery.
These are the most robust standards in African American history, probably anywhere in the country.
The new guidelines require middle school students be taught, quote, how slaves developed skills, which in some instances could be applied for their personal benefit.
Welcome back to Bareback Podcast. I'm your host. We're going for a minute. Gotta let shit marinate, I mean. You know I'm kind of late to the party. About Florida Board of Education. I'm trying to say that, you know, slaves benefited from slavery, you know. It was a mutual agreement. And that they got skills they parlayed into success later on, which is fucking audacity to these motherfucking crackers to say anything to us like we stupid. Let's get into it. So Ron DeSantis, if you know who he is, he's the governor of Florida.
We will never ever surrender to the woke mob. Florida is where woke goes to die.
Dickhead. So this is the guy that tried to get rid of, you know, he got rid of critical race theory for college.
Florida becomes the latest state to ban schools from teaching about systemic racism. ABC's Zachary Quiche is here with more. Good morning to you, Zachary.
Eva, good morning to you as well. You know, it's really a way of looking at the world. It's a lens that acknowledges the role that racism plays. But critics will argue because it's both complex and because it's been politicized, instead of being used as a way of re-examining or reframing the past, it's being used as a tool to accentuate a cultural divide.
Education for college. And he in return gave motherfuckers, you know, Asian studies, of Asian American history. Like we fucking give a fuck about Asian history, right?
Well, for the first time, Asian American history will be part of the school curriculum. It's part of a bill that recently was signed by the governor.
CBS News Miami's Jacqueline Quinn talks to an advocate from a group. They're behind making this all possible. And they say why Asian representation in areas like Miami-Dade is so important.
Like they have any fucking benefits to this country. Like they did like the foundation. Like, what gives a fuck about Asians? But so he got rid of critical race theory for college level students. But now the Board of Education is trying to mitigate slavery by saying it was a mutual benefit from, you know, for the slaves.
Florida middle school students will now be taught that slavery gave black people a personal benefit because they developed beneficial job skills. High school students will now be taught that black people were also perpetrators of violence during white supremacist massacres, like the one in Rosewood, Florida in 1923, when a white mob destroyed the rural black town and murdered many of its residents. The state's education department, if you can even call it that, is doing this in a public school system where 64% of its students are people of color.
As if, you know, working for them benefited us. Them raping us benefited us. Them killing us benefited us. Oh, nasty. Like, we don't benefit from freedom. Fuck slavery. We don't get a benefit from freedom. Everything we do, we get sabotaged. So what they're saying is like, okay, so yeah, slavery was bad, but, you know, it wasn't all that bad. Basically, it's the lost cause.
The Lost Cause was a national propaganda campaign to misrepresent what the Civil War was actually about. The main tenets of the Lost Cause are that the Confederacy was fighting for states' rights, not slavery. That slaves had great working conditions, were loyal to their masters, and often fought for the Confederacy. Portraying slave owners as kind and Southerners in general as more steeped in Christian values in order to make the case that they were fighting for a just cause and only lost because they were outnumbered.
Now, if you're familiar with the Lost Cause, Eric Ballard, some shit like that, was a guy in 1867 who wrote a book called The Lost Cause, glamorizing the South, how the South was done wrong, you know, the Northern aggression movement, you know, saying that, you know, the Northern was the bad guys in the Civil War. And what perpetuated that was the Daughters of the Confederacy, which I did a podcast about, you know, a few months ago and shit, maybe a year ago too. I did a podcast about them.
Listen to how this textbook describes slavery.
The master often had a barbecue or a picnic for his slaves. Then they had a great frolic. Even while working in the cotton fields, they sang songs. The beat of the music and the richness of their voices made work seem light.
Yikes, that's from History of Georgia, a textbook published in 1954 that was taught across junior high schools in Georgia for decades. That sort of language is part of an intellectual movement called the Lost Cause, a distorted version of American Civil War history that's been prevalent in the South for a long time. It took shape soon after the defeat of the Confederate States in the war, when Southern historians like Edward Pollard and former Confederate General Jubal Early started preserving the South's perspective through their writings. They framed the Confederate cause as a heroic defense of the Southern way of life against the overwhelming forces in the North. That narrative has a few basic tenets: the glorification of Confederate soldiers who died for a cause they believed in, the belief that slavery was a benevolent institution, and maybe most importantly, that slavery was not the root cause of the war. The Lost Cause is one of the most notoriously effective efforts to rewrite history, and it was done by the losing side. So how did it become so deeply rooted in Southern memory? Blame the United Daughters of the Confederacy. The UDC was founded in Nashville in 1894 to preserve Confederate culture for generations to come. The women who made up the group descended from elite antebellum families, and they used their social and political clout to spread the pro-Southern version of the war as real history. You've probably seen their efforts to honor the Confederacy, but maybe you didn't know it was the UDC. They're the ones who covered the Southern landscape with memorials for Confederate leaders and soldiers. They used their fundraising and lobbying skills to pressure local governments into erecting monuments in prominent public spaces like courthouses and state capitals.
Talking about, so these bitches are the bitches who basically had control of all the school books in America, mainly the South. But these are people who talk that, about Robert E. Lee, how he was a hero, how about all these, they put all the statues up in the country and shit of all these fucking losers, because the Confederacy was a bunch of fucking losers. Robert E. Lee was a fucking loser. He wasn't a fucking hero. And these fucking white people crazy, man. This is nothing new. We was taught lies. I was taught lies. Your mom was taught lies. Your grandparents were taught lies in school. School been lying to us the whole time. This is mental warfare. They losing their grip on our minds. Like, technology and education and how we building is we're growing so fast. We connected so fast. We are, waking up so fast. We the woke. Even though it doesn't concern no homosexuality, but it's funny how they always trying to throw homosexuality into this woke shit. It has nothing to do with motherfucking homosexualities. Being woke is being aware, is being, knowledgeable of your history, is knowledge yourself and all that shit. But on top of that, it's just, knowing our worth to this country. We the backbones and foundation of this country. These white people are doing their best to control the narrative. Like, see, the South lost the war, but they didn't lose the mental war. Because for years we were saying how, antebellum slavery was, it was romanticized and shit. Like, even though when I was in prison and shit, I used to read these fucking books when I was in SEG about antebellum, romance novels and shit. Those I ain't gonna lie, I like some of them shits too. But the thing is, it's the false narrative, because they trying to act like slavery wasn't that bad. Like, the bitch just pearly things quoted Thomas Sowell on how he said, like, slavery wasn't that bad, and some slave look at their fucking slave masters as fathers and yada yada.
Said slavery wasn't like that. Some of them had like good relationships with their owners, and you looked at me like I was crazy. Yeah. You're in a position where they have this whole plantation. What do? They let them go free. What's going to happen? They're not self-sufficient.
Yeah.
Yo, listen, I'm sure that happened once upon a time. I'm sure that happened sometime. But for the most part, motherfuckers hated their masters. They hated being in America. Some escaped every chance they fucking got. Like, check this out, right? Imagine when we saying the Holocaust benefited the Jews because it taught the Jews survival skills. Imagine Ted Bundy telling his victims they benefit from him raping and killing them because now he's famous and they're part of the story. That's what they're doing to us. Like, yo, we are being so disrespected in so many levels, my nigga, and I don't know how we take this shit, man. In all fairness, DeSantis is trying to like hide his hand, like he wasn't behind it, wasn't him out of his control. You the governor, motherfucker. And I don't like how this bitch Kamala Harris thinks she got an alley hoop and a slam dunk by trying to
This is unnecessary to debate whether enslaved people benefited from slavery. Are you kidding me?
Be on our side and she getting points. Kamala Harris, no thank you. We ain't fucking with you. We don't care if you agree with us or not. You don't fuck with us, we don't fuck with you. Straight cheese like that. The fuck, I'm tired. I can't stand this bitch. I hate this bitch, my nigga. So yeah, so the lost cause, we been indoctrinated. Like, so this saying we learn skills, right? Nigga, we've been dealing with, West Africans been, dealing with metal, because this saying like we was blacksmiths and we could probably had to be blacksmiths and shit when we got free. Nigga, we was doing blacksmithing in West Africa 1500 BC, my nigga. That's way before we got in this country. You know what I'm saying? We've been healing and, you know, selling and building shit. See, they want you to believe that the slaves who came here was Africans climbing trees and chucking spears and shit. Like, we wasn't educated already. Like, we was the Hebrews already. Like, we ain't have religion per se, but we had was spirituality. So what they did was gradually, about 4 generations in, during slavery, they brainwashed us. They took our language, took our culture, you know, they separated the families and shit, and we was indoctrinated. So first of all, we couldn't read. Europe was a literate fucking continent, most of them. If they ain't, you know, dabbling, you know, to, you know, religion, you know, Christianity, they was illiterate. For the most part, the majority of people who came here was fucking illiterate. We wasn't illiterate. That was dumb. We didn't benefit from slavery. Everyone else benefited from slavery. White people, especially white women, benefited the most from slavery. Because out of all the slave owners, there was 40% of the fucking, you know, they own 40% of the slaves. You know, because people died, they inherited the slaves and shit. Like, you know, imagine, see, these bitches had so much invested. They didn't have to breastfeed their fucking kids. Imagine you had a babysitter, a bitch who breastfeeds for you, bitch you watch the kids, you know what I'm saying? You know, wash the kids, teach the kids, train the kids, wake the kids up, wash the clothes. Like, these white bitches, they had nothing to do but live life in leisure. See, these bitches want their leisure back. They want us sweating and breaking our fucking backs for their leisure, their pleasure. It has to be high society and shit. The more slaves you own, the more high you was in society, the more recognition and, you know, clout you got at our expense. See, that's the lost cause. The lost cause was like, oh, slavery wasn't that bad. It was all harmony. It was an agreement, and that shit was none of that. That shit was torturous. Imagine you being a grown man and having your wife go fuck your boss. Then he send it back to you pregnant. He take that fucking baby, sell you somewhere, sell the mom, then rape the baby. Imagine this motherfucker raping you. Slavery was so atrocious. They had motherfuckers' moms fucking their sons. Yo, they bred us. We was bred like fucking dogs, man. Breeding farms. We was whooped and hung from trees. How could we benefit? What skills could we get from being hung from fucking trees? What skills could we get from being raped? What skills could we... Yo, back then you didn't even hear about a pedophile. You know why? Because they didn't have to rape little white boys. They could just rape little fucking black kids. They could just rape fucking men, women, and children at leisure. They had a prime sexual fucking experiences during slavery. And white women was fucking slaves too.
It was not unheard of for white women to have sexual encounters with black male slaves. Nevertheless, these instances were much less common when compared to the widespread sexual exploitation of black female slaves by white men. Some of these connections were voluntary, while others were the result of manipulation or force being applied. As a result of racism and rigid racial hierarchies, such partnerships were subject to severe punishment under the laws and customs of society at that era. When such relationships did take place, it was common practice to conceal them due to the possibility of being socially shunned, as well as facing legal repercussions. Causes for the entanglements in love. There is likely more than one reason why some white women had relationships with African male slaves. These reasons can range from simple to complex. The following are some of the reasons that could have played a role. Connections on an emotional level. Some white women may have formed true fondness and emotional relationships with black slaves, particularly those they were in close contact with, such as house servants. This could have occurred because of the close proximity between the two groups. Engaging in a romantic connection with a black slave during this time period may have been interpreted as an act of defiance toward the rigid cultural rules and restrictions that were put on women. Sexual attraction is a potent force, and it's probable that it had a role in the development of some of the relationships that have been established. Covering up pregnancies. In the case of pregnancies resulting from these relationships, extreme measures were sometimes taken to hide the pregnancy and birth due to the severe social stigma and legal repercussions. Here are some examples of what might have occurred. Abandonment or infanticide. In some cases, the newborns were abandoned or even killed to hide the evidence of the relationship. Secret adoptions. Babies could be given away secretly to other families or individuals to be raised as their own. Passing as white. If the child could pass as white, they might be kept and raised as part of the white family, with the parentage kept a secret. So, what do you guys think? We eagerly want to know about your point of view. Do let us know in the comments below. Subscribe if you want to watch more videos like this.
See, this is what they miss. They miss doing shit to us. Like, look at these Karens, my nigga.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. You guys residents here?
Are we bothering anyone? Don't
I
touch
just
it.
have to...
Don't touch anyone.
Sorry? All right, well, this lake is supposedly for residents only. So, thank you for filming. I'm not giving you permission to film, so...
She's not...
Take a picture of your license plates and forward it on.
On us and his talk to us all types of crazy. That shit is embedded in them from motherfucking slavery. And motherfucking, it's so embedded in them. The Karens we see, these bitches ain't even American. These is like foreigners. These motherfuckers came from Ellis Island. But it's programming in society, my nigga, that we are subordinates to these white people. We not. See, people say white supremacists because we're under white supremacy. But if they're superior to us, right, why they do so much to hold us back? See, inferior people sabotage people. Sabotage competition. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's for everything about white supremacy is reverse psychology. They need our minds. They need to indoctrinate our children, my nigga. Indoctrinate our children like they did us. Thing about us is, through it all, we still persevere for our freedom. They did a lot to us to fuck us up. We are 40 years behind. I mean, because, during the 60s, it was building momentum, being more educated, being more political. Crack, cocaine, fucked up 2 generations. It fucked up the 80s and the 90s. Clear, that shit fucked up a lot of shit, But the crack escalated so much that my daughter's paying for this shit. My daughter's paying for my mom's consequences, father's consequences for falling victim to that shit. You know what I'm saying? And it's my fault. I fell victim to it too. These motherfuckers really, they can't live without a lie. They need to indoctrinate their children so their children can feel secure into their whiteness. Because think about it. Think about if they was taught that the land they inherited was taken from black people. Think about if they was taught that the phone they used was created by black people. Think about it if they knew all the wealth came from black people. How to make white people feel? White children feel insecure. How to make black people feel? Fucking make them feel like motherfucking, you know what I'm saying? Like, the confidence of knowing who I am and where I come from, I can't be a slave again. That's the thing. They want us to be cool with slavery so they could try that shit again. They want to mitigate it, make it like it's nice, and slowly but surely they want to put us back in fucking slavery. But nigga, we ain't never going back to slavery. I don't give a fuck. If I'm a die, I'm gonna take 10 with me. We ain't doing that slavery shit. Like, they don't want their kids to know about how they used to hang us, eat us, cut our body parts off and shit, and eat the penises and shit, and make elixirs out of it and drink it. How they eat our hearts and shit. How they experiment on us. Like, the whole medical field is based on them experimenting on us. Imagine having no fucking rights, Will, every day. Think about how sick white people are right now. Just right now, how sick they are. How they fuck dogs and do weird shit. Imagine they had humans do the weird shit too. Make motherfucking suitcases out of skin. They made jackets out of black skin. They made lampshades, my nigga.
Madame Delphine LaLaurie transformed her New Orleans mansion into a chamber of unimaginable horrors during the early 1830s. Behind the facade of a respected member of society, she subjected her enslaved workers to unspeakable acts of torture and murder. When a fire broke out in 1834, neighbors discovered the appalling truth about the mansion. Inside, they encountered enslaved individuals who had been brutally mutilated, some barely clinging to life, while others had been left to decompose. The shocking details of gouged eyes, flayed skin, and mouths filled with excrement revealed the depths of Madame LaLaurie's sadistic nature. Her heinous acts forever tarnished her reputation as one of history's most brutal women. In 1834, a fire engulfed the New Orleans mansion of Madame Delphine LaLaurie, leading to a horrifying revelation for the neighbors. As they rushed to help, they noticed that Madame LaLaurie appeared to be alone in the house. Concerned by the absence of her enslaved workers, the locals decided to investigate. What they found inside the mansion was beyond comprehension. The enslaved workers, upon entering the premises, were discovered in a state of unimaginable torture and suffering. Some were horribly mutilated yet still alive, while others had tragically perished, left to decay. The fire had inadvertently exposed the dark and sinister secrets hidden within Madame LaLaurie's abode. Rumors swirled, solidifying Madame Delphine LaLaurie's reputation as a cruel and merciless woman. Whispers spoke of a grim reality lurking in the attic of her New Orleans mansion, dead bodies and an astonishing count of over 100 victims. These chilling tales painted a haunting picture of the extent of her brutality. The mere suggestion of such horrific atrocities committed by Madame LaLaurie sent shockwaves through the community, further cementing her notoriety as a symbol of sadism and malevolence. The attic became a symbol of unspeakable horrors, forever etching Madame LaLaurie's name in infamy. Before descending into sadistic acts, Madame Delphine LaLaurie enjoyed a reputation as a respected member of society, seemingly leading a life of relative normalcy. She had entered into multiple marriages and bore children, displaying a facade of conventional existence. Well, it's time to turn the table.
Being taught in school? Because they're a fucking psychopath. My nigga, these people are animals. They acting like they want to teach that, you know, slavery wasn't that bad. Slavery was worse than we could ever imagine. Can't imagine it, my nigga. I can imagine the worst shit. I can imagine them just buying children and just torturing the fuck out of children. They used to feed children to alligators, man. Bait alligators. They molest kids now. Man, can you imagine? Can you imagine? We have no idea what really went on, because who the fuck would put that inside writing? Men don't tell too much when they got raped. You don't hear too many men bragging about being raped in prison. You don't hear about too many men being raped by a woman. You know what I'm saying? And having children by them. So imagine the silence you would get on. You never heard of slaves talking about how. I never heard a slave, no book or no novel or no journal talk about how they was raped. And I know it happened. I know what happened, man. By men and women. These motherfuckers are sick. That's why they don't want critical race theory in the colleges. Because, you know, even though they're adults, they're still young minds, my nigga. You change how somebody think, you change their behavior. They don't want to change nothing. They want to digress back to what it used to be. They don't want to give niggas knowledge, man. They don't want white children having the true knowledge, because white supremacy is so fragile. It's built on a lie. It's built on false confidence. It's built on them victimizing people, then saying don't have a victim mentality. What kind of sick shit is that? You victimize me, but then tell me don't be a victim.
The police the same way. They put their club upside your head and then turn around and accuse you of attacking them. Every case of police brutality against a Negro follows the same pattern. They attack you, bust you all upside your mouth, and then take you to court and charge you with assault. What kind of democracy is that?
You're not a victim. You tell me I wasn't a slave, but yet I benefit from the debt of slavery. Yeah, and y'all benefit from generational wealth of slavery. See, America today, we all experiencing the after effects of slavery. It's interpreted different. While we in the projects, they in the suburbs. While we getting jobs, they running fucking companies as CEOs. While we inventing shit, they buying our patents because they invented capitalism. So we can never be ahead. We never be going on equal footing. Do you know what I'm saying? I think somewhere Frederick Douglass might have said, once he started to read, his master's so Frederick Douglass, right? Because his mistress was teaching him how to read, and I think her husband walked in and was like, yo, you can't teach him how to read, because once he get that knowledge, he can never be a slave again.
Very soon after I went to live with Mr. and Mrs. Auld, she very kindly commenced to teach me the ABC. After I learned these, she assisted me in learning to spell words of 3 or 4 letters. Just at this point of my progress, Mr. Auld found out what was going on and at once forbade Mrs. Auld to instruct me further, telling her, among other things, that it was unlawful as well as unsafe to teach a slave to read. It will forever unfit him to be a slave, he said. He will at once become unmanageable and of no value to his master. These words sank deep into my heart. From that moment, I understood the pathway from slavery to freedom.
Once he can read, he can never be a slave again. And that's why, to this day, black kids are reading below the grade levels or reading at all. You know what I'm saying? Because white teachers don't teach that shit in school. Like, think about it. I'm from a black neighborhood, right? I have mostly white teachers teaching me a curriculum. A curriculum is indoctrination. No one taught me the truth. They've been preaching motherfucking Columbus discovered the fucking America.
This is fucking, I don't know when.
And how George Washington never told a fucking lie, which is a lie. And how Lincoln was Honest Abe and all that crazy shit. These people are evil, wicked, fucking devils. They don't want to teach that Abraham Lincoln might have had some black in them.
at the request of J.W. Fell of Springfield, Illinois, December 20th, 1859. In the note which accompanied it, the writer says, now he says right here again, and it's in this book too, it says, if any personal description of me is thought desirable, it may be said, I am in height 6 feet 4 inches, nearly lean in flesh, weighing on average 180 pounds, dark complexion. He's saying himself, dark complexion, dark complexion. What are you gonna say? Hey, curimeo, that means pale. Also, dark means pale too. Dark complexion is dark complexion. I don't care what anybody says. They want to show us white images of Abraham Lincoln. They want to say, oh no, he just meant he was a little dark because he's Semitic, or because he might be a little mixed, or because he's whatever they want to try to say. Dark complexion is dark complexion. It's not pale, right? With coarse black hair, dark complexion. That's himself describing himself as that, all right? Another source saying the same thing. All right, we got another source here. This book is called The Everyday Life of Abraham Lincoln, a biography of the great American president from an entirely new standpoint with fresh and invaluable material. Lincoln's life and character portrayed by those who knew him, okay? The primary sources. And it goes on and on. This was written in 1887 by Francis F. Brown. And there's a section here with Lincoln's autobiography, which we are going to read a lot today. It says here, if any personal description of me is thought desirable, it may be said, I am in height 6 feet 4 inches, nearly lean in flesh, weighing on average 180 pounds, dark complexion, with coarse black hair and gray eyes, no other marks or brands recollected. Yours very truly, A. Lincoln. Again, dark complexion.
Who was our first black president?
Well, Barack?
Get off the chair. Who was our first black president? Who's our
George
first black
Washington.
president?
Washington.
Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln was a Melungian.
Wow.
He was part black, part white, and part Cherokee Indian.
Wow.
Yeah, you didn't know that, did you? He was a superhuman human being because he was a Melungian. M-E-L-U-N-G-E-O-N. Melungian.
Oh, there it is.
There it is. What does it say?
It says Melungian ancestry of Abraham Lincoln.
What?
Really learning.
Strange things happen after
Jane, you're so gangster.
Thing about the Civil War too. They always glorify, the generals and, Custer and all them motherfuckers, but they never glorified the black people who really had an impact. Like, they never mentioned how brave we were. And without us, South would have fucking won. They don't want to teach that shit though. Nah. They don't teach how great Lincoln was, how great Robert E. Lee was. Mediocrity at its best. See, white supremacy glorifies mediocrity. This is a thing. Like, we have to be excellent just to get mediocre results. They could be incompetent and reach the highest pecking order of America. For example, George Bush Jr., Joe Biden, Hunter Biden. White people could be idiots and still run the country. Donald Trump's a fucking idiot. Still run the country. Yeah, we got brilliant people. Like, no one's more brilliant than Malcolm X. What was his peak? Dying at a fucking podium, trying to enlighten his people. They don't talk about all the assassinations and infiltration. They don't want kids learning that shit. We America's best kept secret. It's coming out. The world's saying it. Everybody knows it. But they want to suppress us. They want to suppress us and they want to oppress us. And that's why they keep letting immigrants in. Because look, Ron DeSantis is a fucking Italian. Italians was considered white to the 1950s, 1940s. So before so his grandparents was treated like niggas too. They hung Italians from trees in New Orleans too. Like, they don't teach about the KKK, man. Burn down houses, shooting children in the fucking mouth with fucking shotgun shells. They don't teach that. Dragging kids at night to get fucking hung. They don't teach that how they fucking put kids on death row. They don't teach that. They don't teach how they lied and killed Emmett Till and they let the bitch Carolyn Bryant live to her fucking death and freedom. And then after she died, Joe Biden wouldn't give motherfucking Emmett Till bills, and we live in a sick society, man. Our numbers are growing. There's a declining. They scared, my nigga. They're on the ropes. That's the premise on its last leg. That's why they need immigrants. They need Latino. They need Asian. They need Indians. Yo, so we got to get more educated, man. Because look, the more they try to keep us down, the more we fucking rise. The more they tell us what we can't do, the more we want to do it. They tell us we can't learn shit in school. Nigga, shit, now we want to teach in school. Like, it's, how many lies had he told on us? Don't try to believe that Africans benefited from slavery. Nigga, we don't benefit from nothing. Nothing we build, nothing we invent. Collier, Florida, right? Guy named July Perry tried to vote and they killed 2 white people because they came to his house. They ended up killing like 30 motherfucking Black Americans. Like, so many massacres that happened just for us. Like, people didn't die for us to vote. Nobody died for our right to vote. That's just a lie. But people died trying to vote. And why do you think they don't want us to vote? If we're the minority, why does it matter that we vote? Because the truth of the matter is, we are the deciding factor.
In Washington, D.C., in the House of Representatives, there are 257 who are Democrats. Only 177 are Republicans. In the Senate, there are 67 Democrats. Only 33 are Republicans. The party that you bash controls 2/3 of the House of Representatives and the Senate, and still they can't keep their promise to you because you're a chump. Anytime you throw your weight behind a political party that controls 2/3 of the government, and that party can't keep the promise that it made to you during election time, and you're dumb enough to walk around continuing to identify yourself with that party, you're not only a chump, but you're a traitor to your race.
Republicans, Democrats, straight through the middle, my nigga. Even Latinos, straight through the middle, my nigga. Some Democrats, some Republicans, they come here. See, the thing about Latinos is they Republicans when they want to get the people here, or when they want to come here. Or I'm saying, when they want them fucking DACA rights. But once they get the DACA rights and they here and they people here, they become Republicans because they white. They don't matter. Latino is not a monolith group. They all want to be white. Don't get me wrong, they indulge in hip hop. We fuck some of these bitches, but when it comes down to them, I can't. You know what? I can't blame people for wanting to be white and choosing the white side because you're weak. When you're weak, you always want to join a bully. I never was the type of nigga who to bully people, ever. Always end up fighting a bully or standing up to. But that's just in my nature. I'm not weak. Black Americans is not weak. That's what they fear, man. And truth of the matter is, you educate us. It's a better choice, man. Listen, listen. The more you feed Black America, the greater America will be. Like, America cannot be great if we ain't great, because we made this shit great being oppressed. If we wasn't oppressed, this should be even better. Think about it. We are the culture of this country. We're the innovators, and people want to be us. Capitalism see, that's what I'm saying. One thing about capitalism is it's a scam that keep people not being on code because you can be bought. We have to be bigger than capitalism, because every time we have, a genes in our community, they take them. They put them in their universities, and that's it. Capitalism. Pay for the college, pay for everything, just to muffle that talent. Just dimming his light. We kept them in our college, in our community. Think about it, if we kept everybody in our community. Each one teach one. They don't do that. Capitalism can make you pick anybody out of any group and eventually make them pick a number. Everything's for sale. Everybody's for sale, man. That's capitalism. See, if you want to get rid of racism, get rid of capitalism. Because capitalism and racism go hand in hand. Like, why do you think slavery started? It was for capitalism. Think about these fucking bitches about the daughters of the Confederacy, right? These are some of the white people are some of the laziest fucking people. See, they call us lazy, but these are the laziest motherfuckers, because since 1619 to 1864, they wasn't motherfucking working, but they call us lazy. See how we use reverse psychology? They call us lazy. They brought all the diseases from Europe, chlamydia, gonorrhea, and all that shit. But it's saying we had diseases. We ain't had no fucking diseases in Africa. It's reverse psychology, man. They can't live without a lie. They can't stand on truth, because the truth, it imprisons them. It convicts them. It holds them accountable. And that's saying what they want to be is fucking held accountable. See, that's what white supremacy is. But it's a system where they're not held accountable to things. That's why Hunter Biden's not going to jail. That's why Bill Clinton wasn't really impeached. That's why, because it's a system that incriminates us, punishes us, but it rewards them.
County, Florida, State of Florida versus George Zimmerman. Verdict: we, the jury, find George Zimmerman not guilty. So say we all 4
Charge of first-degree murder. Verdict as to count 1. We, the jury, find the defendant not guilty. So say we all. Dated
Richard McGinnis. We, the jury, find the defendant Kyle H. Rittenhouse not guilty.
It rewards them. Everything we do, we get punished for. Even when we innocent, we get punished for. They could be guilty and they get rewards. We live in a time where they don't want to teach real education and real truth. But they want to teach your kids that a boy could be a girl and a girl could be a fucking boy. What type of weirdo shit is that? See, it ain't us. This is all white creation. This is all somebody in charge is white and going fucking crazy, losing their fucking mind because they have money. Capitalism. When you have, I'm saying, when you have money, you could do anything. You could control any. Yo, it's about, I could say 10 white people probably own more than the whole black American ethnicity. Maybe 2. Capitalism. Unfair thing. We the victims of capitalism because we work the hardest and we get the least. They do nothing. See, that's race system, not racism. Race system. Racism is the practice oppression so they could keep their position. Race system is the judicial system. It's the capitalism. Race system is everything to keep them on top. That's the race system. That's the race system we living in. They're so fragile they can't compete with us. Yeah, but listen. Genetically, we're better. Naturally, we're better. They can compete with that. That's why they need shit like legacy for schools. That's why they need to be rich. That's why they got 90% of the fucking wealth. Maybe 95% of the wealth. We live off of fucking 0.5% or I think 1.5%. Fucking 40, 50 million people living off of 1.5%. For all the wars, we built the foundation of this fucking country. We was the experiments that everyone now could benefit from, especially the OGBYN, whatever that shit is. Our black women had to get their pussies tortured, raped without motherfucking no anesthesia, nothing. Just being carved and experimented on. Sterilized us, gave us Christianity. Now we divided spiritually. Christianity is fucking part of the mental warfare you dumb motherfuckers fell for. Give a fuck about it, Jesus. That's not natural to us. That's Asia, Eastern African shit. That's not where we came from. When you adopt somebody God, man, you submit to them. Because I can make a God up, right? This will be in my favor. And I give it to you. Now you're my subject. That's all this shit is. Same with Islam. It's all submitting to other people, ethnic groups and ethnicities in their rank. Fucking pastor, preacher, imam, or whatever that shit called. These are people of authority over what? Over ideology. Nigga, this is mental warfare. Wake the fuck up. Learn something. Read a book. Nigga, YouTube some shit. Nigga, educate yourself, man. Educate yourself more. Look, we're being attacked. Not only physically we're being attacked. We're being attacked mentally. Spiritually, y'all defeated. If you're a Christian, you're a Muslim, you're spiritually defeated and depleted, my nigga. I don't believe in God at all. No type, in no shape or no form. I don't believe I'm God. I don't believe none of that shit. Because that's not an original thought of mine. That's something that's introduced to me. Anything introduced to me is not mine. Except great ideas, great leaders. First of all, who let these motherfuckers educate? Like, why we not boycotting that? Like, why we not fighting the curriculum? Like, we let these fucking white women teach our children. Daughters of Confederacy. They put all these fucking goddamn statues up and shit. Just remind us that they was greatness. That they say we was kings. The same shit. That's what they basically saying. Motherfucker, we was fucking kings of these niggas. We was kings. We was rulers of these niggas. We was owners of these niggas. This is the same thing as saying we was kings. Difference is y'all come from peasants. We ain't come from peasants. We came from kingdoms, man. Like, we came from gold. We came from diamonds. We came from a fruitful place. They came from a cold place, a depleted place. Nah, these motherfuckers are alien species. I don't believe in that Yakub shit, but it kind of makes sense a little bit. A wee bit. It makes sense a wee bit. Nigga, man, this shit is just outlandish, man. We gotta get it together, man. That's the Bear Back Podcast, man. Don't let these motherfuckers educate you, man. Educate yourself, man. Tune in, man. Learn something. Earn something. Be great. Like Americans up.